Excuse me, ma'am, you can't be here. This section is reserved. Her voice cut through the polished silence of the jewelry store. I froze, my hand still hovering over the velvet tray. Reserved? My throat tightened as I forced the word out, for people who can actually afford it. She folded her arms, eyes darting to the clerk for backup. I glanced at the clerk. He avoided my gaze, lips pressed tight. His silence burned hotter than her insult. A man in a suit whispered behind me, "She should know better." Another voice, sharp but low, "Don't start anything." I swallowed hard, my pulse hammering. Their whispers weren't meant for me, but they cut deeper than the words hurled in my face. I drew in a breath. "I came here to buy, just like anyone else." She sneered, stepping closer, blocking me with her body. "You people always come here to look, never to buy. Don't waste their time." The words echoed. You people. My chest clenched, rage and shame twisting together. I turned to the clerk, my voice shaking. "Are you really going to let this happen?" His eyes flicked up, then down again. It's store policy to make sure the right clients are served first." "The right clients?" My voice cracked. "Yes," she muttered smugly. "Clients who belong." I felt my nails dig into my palm. The crowd around us hushed, eyes pretending not to stare, lips pretending not to smile. Their silence pressed down like a weight. "You don't know me," I whispered, but my voice carried across the room. "You don't know what I can afford, what I've built, what I came here for." She laughed, short and sharp. "Built? Please. Prove it." My stomach twisted. Why should I have to prove anything to her? Why should my dignity be held hostage to her prejudice? A man coughed awkwardly. "Let's not make a scene." Her smirk widened. "Exactly. Leave before this gets ugly." Something in me broke. Not from her words, but from the clerk's downcast eyes, from the crowd's silence, from the way everyone let her humiliate me like it was routine. I straightened my shoulders, even though my knees trembled. "Ugly already walked in when you opened your mouth." Gasps rippled, sharp breaths pulled through teeth. For a moment, even she blinked, but the silence rushed back, thick and suffocating. Inside, I wanted to scream, to shout every title, every victory, every barrier I had shattered. But I didn't, because her ignorance wasn't my proof to give. I forced myself to turn, heart pounding. My heels clicked against the polished floor. Behind me, whispers flared again. Who does she think she is? She made it worse. She should have just stayed quiet. Their voices chased me out, biting at my back. At the door, I stopped. My reflection stared back at me in the glass, tired, humiliated, but unbroken. That was the night I decided. Their comfort ends where my dignity begins. Did you see her suit? Maybe stolen. The words weren't meant for me, but they were sharp enough to pierce. I stood frozen in the aisle, my pulse echoing in my ears. "Don't cause trouble, honey. Let's just watch," another voice muttered, softer but still poisonous. My stomach twisted. Their whispers, their cowardice. It was louder than shouting. I turned back toward the counter. The woman still stood there, triumphant smirk plastered on her face as if she had won something by blocking me. I looked at the clerk. "You heard them. You heard her. And you said nothing," he flinched. "Ma'am, I don't want to escalate." "Escalate?" My voice cracked. "She humiliated me in front of this entire store, and you're worried about escalation?" Man near the door chuckled under his breath. "Probably looking for attention." I spun toward him. "Attention? Do you have any idea what it feels like to stand here, stripped of dignity while you laugh?" His face reddened, but he didn't answer. He looked down, suddenly fascinated with his phone. The clerk whispered, "Please lower your voice." My voice? My chest burned as I leaned closer across the counter. "My voice is the problem, not her insult, not your silence?" "It's policy," he stammered, sweat glistening at his temple. We're supposed to prioritize certain clients. I clenched my fists so tight, my nails bit into my palms. Policy. That word again. Sanitized prejudice, packaged in corporate excuses. Say it, I muttered. He blinked. Say what? Say what you mean by certain clients. His lips trembled, but nothing came out. Behind me, someone whispered, "She's making it worse." I whipped around. Worse for who? For me? Or for you? Because my dignity makes you uncomfortable? Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Eyes shifted, feet shuffled, but not a single voice rose in my defense. The woman cleared her throat. You see? This is why we can't let standards slip. Her words made the air feel thin. Standards. That was all I was to them. A breach, a disruption, a stain on their polished glass world. I forced myself to breathe. You will remember this moment, I whispered, not just to her but to everyone, staring, silent, complicit. Every one of you will remember you said nothing. The clerk lowered his eyes again. Please, just let it go. Let it go. Those 3 words scraped against me like broken glass. I turned, each step toward the exit, dragging humiliation behind me like chains. Whispers followed, sharper now that my back was exposed. She should have just left quietly. Always so. Dramatic. Probably can't even afford a ring here. I pushed through the glass doors, the cold air slapping my face. My chest heaved, eyes burning, but I held myself upright. Their silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard, and it would haunt them far longer than it could ever break me. I can't shake it, I muttered, dropping my bag on the edge of my desk. My assistant glanced up, worry etched across her face. What happened? She whispered, stepping closer. My throat tightened. She blocked me in the middle of the store, told me I didn't belong. The clerk stood there, mute. The whole room stared like I was dirt on their glass floor. Her jaw clenched. And no one stopped her? No one, I whispered back. Not a word, only whispers about stolen suits and making scenes. She reached for my arm but hesitated. You don't have to carry this alone. I shook my head. Alone was exactly how it felt. Later in the boardroom, I forced my voice steady. I was humiliated in public. In a store where I went to buy a gift, a woman blocked me, said I couldn't afford it, and the staff let her. The room shifted, chairs creaked, but the silence was familiar. Finally, one board member cleared his throat. Maybe she didn't mean it that way. My heart lurched. Didn't mean it? She told me I didn't belong. She called me you. People. What else could it mean? Another leaned back, fingers steepled. Perhaps you're overreacting. You know how sensitive these things can sound. Sensitive? My voice cracked as I gripped the edge of the table. Do you have any idea what it feels like to stand there, stripped of humanity, while everyone watches? No one met my eyes. Papers shuffled. A cough broke the silence. I whispered, Your silence feels just like theirs. The chairwoman finally murmured, Look, maybe the best thing is to let this go. Don't give it more power. Let it go? My fists trembled in my lap. Those words again, always the same chorus. Let it go. Swallow it. Smile anyway. I stood slowly, the scrape of my chair loud in the polished room. You want me quiet because it's easier. Easier for you to pretend it doesn't happen. But my silence doesn't protect me. It only protects them. My assistant's voice wavered at the door. Then what will you do? I met her eyes, the sting in my chest hardening into resolve. I don't know yet, but I know one thing. I'm done carrying their comfort on my back. The boardroom fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't just cowardice I heard. It was fear. Their gaslighting cracked something open inside me. And from that crack, resolve began to rise. Why were they mean to you, Auntie? The fork slipped from my hand, clattering against the plate. My niece's wide eyes searched mine, her small voice cutting sharper than any insult in that store. I cleared my throat, my voice trembling. What do you mean, sweetheart? Mom said someone said you don't belong? Why? The table fell silent. My brother shifted in his chair, muttering, She doesn't need to know all that. I snapped my gaze toward him. She asked me. She deserves the truth. My mother's voice, soft but firm, broke in. Some things are better left unsaid at the table. I clenched my fists in my lap. That's what everyone says. Leave it. Ignore it. Pretend it didn't happen. My niece whispered again. But why would they say that to you? My chest tightened. How do you explain centuries of cruelty to a child still learning multiplication? Because some people believe their worth depends on making others feel small, I murmured, my throat thick. My sister leaned forward, whispering sharply. Don't fill her head with bitterness. Bitterness? I choked out a laugh that wasn't a laugh at all. Do you know what bitterness feels like? Standing in a store treated like a thief in a suit. That's bitterness. Having strangers whisper stolen while clerks bow their heads and say nothing. That's bitterness. My father exhaled heavily, folding his hands. We have lived through worse. Best thing is to keep your head down. Survive. I stared at him. And when does survival stop being enough? When they strip my dignity piece by piece until there's nothing left? He shook his head. Pride doesn't put food on the table. Dignity does, I muttered, my voice breaking. Dignity feeds the soul. Without it, survival is just breathing. The room thickened with silence. My niece's small hands slipped into mine under the table, warm and trembling. She whispered, You're not small, Auntie. You're big. Bigger than all of them. My eyes burned, and I squeezed her hand tight. Across the table, my brother muttered, Just let it go before. It destroys you. Destroys me? I snapped, rising from my chair, palms flat against the wood. Their silence already tried to destroy me. Their whispers already clawed at my skin. And now you want me to bury it, pretend it never happened, so they can stay comfortable? No one answered. Eyes lowered, just like in that store. My heart pounded as I looked at each of them, then back at my niece, her gaze steady, unblinking. I swallowed hard. No, I won't. I won't stay quiet this time. The words left me trembling, but they anchored me, solid and sharp. That night, my family's silence became the mirror of the store's silence. And staring into it, I finally chose, this will not end in whispers. It will end in my voice. Is this you? My assistant's voice cracked as she shoved her phone across my desk. The screen glowed with a shaky video. Me, frozen at that glass counter, the white woman's voice ringing clear, for people who can actually afford it. Gasps from the crowd. My silence, then my trembling words. Ugly already walked in when you opened your mouth. I gripped the phone, my hands shaking. So now the whole world could watch me stripped bare. The comments scrolled faster than I could read. Typical. Playing the victim again. She staged this. You can tell. Unbelievable. In 2025, still happening. This is why nothing ever changes. Finally, someone said what we're all thinking. Each line felt like a stone hurled through me. My assistant whispered, They're calling. Journalists. They want statements. The phone buzzed in my hand. I swiped to answer. This is Channel 7. Do you want to clarify what really happened? Clarify? My voice trembled, then steadied. What you saw is what happened. A woman blocked me, called me less than, and no one stopped her. The reporter muttered, But some online say you provoked her. I closed my eyes. Of course they do. Because silence is easier if they paint me loud. The line clicked dead. Another call came. This is Daily Post. Can you confirm you're the woman in the viral jewelry video? Yes. Do you regret how you responded? Regret. The word seared. I forced the words out. The only regret I carry is that I walked away instead of demanding every single person their answer for their silence. They hung up quickly, unsatisfied with my truth. My assistant whispered again, almost pleading. You need to tell your story, your way. Don't let them twist it into theirs. I looked at her, my chest heaving. Twisting stories was their art. Form my pain into their entertainment, my dignity into their debate. Later that night, the store's official statement appeared on screens everywhere. We at Sterling Jewels regret any misunderstanding that occurred. Our commitment to serving all customers remains strong. We are investigating further. Misunderstanding. The word stabbed deep. I muttered aloud. They called it a misunderstanding. Like my dignity was a mispronounced word. My assistant slammed her hand on the desk. They're gaslighting you again. Say something. Please, say it before they bury you under their PR spin. I looked at her, my throat raw. If I speak, they'll brand me angry. If I stay silent, they'll brand me guilty. Tell me, where do I stand when every road is a trap? Her voice cracked. You stand on truth, and you force them to hear it. Her words hung in the room, heavier than the silence that had haunted me since that store. I clenched my fists, feeling my nails dig into my skin. The whispers in that jewelry store were now multiplied into millions of voices, a tidal wave of doubt and denial. But if I didn't rise now, when would I? I looked at her again. Then get me a camera. I'll give them a statement. Not for them, for me. The room pulsed with quiet resolve. This time my silence would not be their weapon. My voice would. Ms. Carter, thank you for meeting with us. The two men across the polished table smiled too wide, their voices syrupy, but I felt the steel under every syllable. I folded my hands, though they trembled. I didn't agree to meet for pleasantries. Say what you came to say. One lawyer leaned forward, lowering his voice. Drop this matter. Stop speaking to the press. Remove any public statements. I tilted my head. Or, the other lawyer's smirk tightened. Or we will ruin your name. Drag your reputation through every headline. Accuse you of fabricating the entire event. My throat burned, but I forced the words out steady. Fabricating? You've seen the video. The entire world has seen it. He chuckled. Videos can be interpreted in many ways. People are already questioning your motives. With the right spin, you'll look opportunistic, desperate. My stomach twisted. Desperate. That word again, a leash they wanted fastened around my neck. I leaned closer. You think silence is still an option for me? After being humiliated in front of strangers? After being dismissed in my own boardroom? You think I'll crawl back into quiet compliance? Their eyes flickered, but the smug smiles held. Think about your company. One of them murmured. Investors don't like controversy. Clients don't like noise. Do you want to destroy everything you've built over a single misunderstanding? The words seared like acid. A misunderstanding? She called me you people. She barred me from the counter. And you call it a misunderstanding? The taller lawyer adjusted his tie, voice clipped. It's not worth the fight, I whispered, almost choking. That's what they told my father. That's what they told my mother. That's what they told me when I was 15, spat on outside a train station. It's not worth the fight. Always the same words. I slammed my palms on the table. But it's worth it now. Worth it because every time I let it pass, they grow bolder. And every time I speak, even if my voice shakes, someone else learns silence isn't the only choice. Their faces hardened. You're making a mistake, one hissed. I leaned back, the air sharp in my lungs. No, The mistake was yours, thinking I'd trade my dignity for peace. For a long moment, no one spoke. Their eyes avoided mine. Papers shuffled. The smell of their cologne made my chest tighten. Every threat they tossed at me sounded like chains they thought still bound me, but I had already broken them the night I walked out of that store with my head high. I rose slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. Tell your client I won't be silenced. Not by money, not by fear, not by men in tailored suits. The taller one muttered, "Then you leave us no choice." I met his gaze, my voice steady now. "And you leave me none either." I turned, my heels clicking sharp against the marble floor, each step carrying me closer to the battle they thought I was too weak to fight. If they wanted war, they'd have to hear it in my voice, loud, unbroken, and undeniable. Cameras flashed in my face as I stepped up to the podium. My palms tingled with sweat, but my voice came out calm. This wasn't about jewelry. I let the silence stretch. This was about worth. A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd. Reporters leaned forward, microphones shoved closer. One shouted, "Are you claiming racial discrimination?" "I don't need to claim what the world saw with its own eyes," I murmured. A woman blocked me, mocked me, told me I didn't belong, and everyone else chose silence. Hands shot up. Questions collided over each other. Why didn't you leave quietly? Do you regret how you responded? Some say you provoked the situation. I raised my hand, my voice firm. No, I regret nothing, because my dignity is not negotiable. My presence does not require permission. A few scattered claps broke through the noise. Then more, building into something heavier. And then I heard it. The voice I knew would come. Shaky, defensive. I didn't mean it that way. The white woman stood among the crowd, pale, her hands twisting nervously. Cameras swung toward her like vultures. "You misunderstood me," she stammered. I was just trying to keep order." I felt my jaw tighten. "Order? By barring me from a counter? By calling me you people? Tell them what you really meant." Her voice cracked. "I was scared." "Scared of what?" I snapped. "My suit? My skin? My presence in a store you thought belonged to you?" Gasps rolled across the room. She shook her head, words tumbling out in fragments. No, I didn't." I leaned into the microphone, my voice steady, low. "You never saw me as human. That's the truth you're running from." The room froze. Cameras clicked, capturing. Her silence, her trembling lips, her collapse, and then footsteps behind me. Two men in dark suits, badges glinting under the lights. The taller one spoke, his tone even but sharp. "For those who don't know, Ms. Carter isn't just a CEO. She is a federal advisor, entrusted with national economic oversight. When she walks into a room, she represents more than herself. She represents the very institutions that protect this country." Gasps erupted. A murmur surged like a wave. Reporters shouted over each other. "Federal advisor? Is this true? Why didn't you reveal this sooner?" I met their stares, my chest rising slow, steady. "Because my dignity shouldn't require a title. Because I should matter even if I were no one at all." Applause broke out, louder this time, unrestrained. The white woman stumbled backward, her face drained. I didn't know." "You didn't need to know," I whispered, my voice carrying in the stunned silence. "Respect shouldn't come stamped with a badge." The room erupted, shouts, claps, camera flashes, questions firing like bullets, but her silence was the loudest sound of all. In that moment, the tilt was clear. I no longer stood on trial. She did. I was scared. Her voice quivered, thin, as cameras caught every twitch of her trembling hands. I held her gaze, my chest rising steady. Scared of what? Her lips parted, stammering. "I thought you were—" "Say it." My voice cracked sharp, echoing, across the hall. "Say what you thought I was." She flinched, eyes darting to the crowd. "I didn't mean I was only protecting—" "Protecting who?" I snapped. "The glass counters? The diamonds? Or your illusion that people like me don't belong beside them?" The crowd rustled, gasps and murmurs weaving like static. I felt the weight of their eyes, but for once I wasn't carrying their silence. I was forcing them to hear mine. Tears pricked her eyes. "I didn't know who you were." My stomach twisted. There it was, the confession behind the mask. I leaned into the microphone. "And that's the point. Respect shouldn't depend on who I am. Respect should exist because I am human. But you never thought I was." Her face crumpled, her whisper barely audible. "I didn't think—" "You didn't think," I muttered, steady, deliberate. "Because you never had to. You never had to wonder if a room would see you as a thief instead of a customer. You never had to measure your worth against their silence." The FBI agent behind me stepped forward, his tone cutting through the air. "For the record, Ms. Carter is not only a respected CEO but a federal economic advisor. An investigation into Sterling Jewels and its discriminatory practices will commence immediately." The crowd erupted, reporters shouting, flashes bursting, questions colliding like thunder. I heard her choke out, "An investigation? Please, I was just one person. You didn't act alone," I interrupted, my voice low but sharp. "The clerk's silence helped you. The whispers around us protected you. The system you trusted cushioned you. Don't pretend you stood there by yourself." She shook her head, her apology collapsing under its own emptiness. I'm sorry. I truly am." I swallowed hard, my hands trembling at my sides. "You're sorry you were exposed. Not sorry for the moment you stole my dignity. You're sorry the world saw you. But you were never sorry for me." The hall quieted, her sobs echoing in the hush. I whispered into the microphone, steady now, final. "You never thought I was human. And that truth will outlive every excuse you make." The FBI agent laid a hand on my shoulder. "We'll take it from here." I exhaled, my chest heavy but unbroken. For the first time, the collapse wasn't mine. It was hers. The cameras were gone. The voices, the questions, the gasps, they had all drained away. I sat in the quiet, staring at the necklace resting in its velvet box. The necklace I came to buy was never the point. My worth had never been theirs to grant or deny. A soft knock at my door pulled me back. My niece peeked in, her small eyes wide. "Auntie, are you okay?" I forced a thin smile. "Come here." She climbed into my lap, her warmth pressing against my chest. She stared at the box on the table. "Is that for you?" I shook my head slowly. "No, sweetheart. It's for you." Her eyes widened. "For me? Why?" I opened the box, letting the light catch the delicate chain. "Because this isn't just a necklace. It's a promise, a reminder that you belong in every room you step into, that no one has the right to block your way." Her small fingers brushed the jewel. "But what if they try?" My throat tightened. "Then you lift your head. You look them in the eye. And you remember. You are bigger than their fear, bigger than their silence," she whispered. "Like you did." I swallowed, my chest heavy. Yes, like I did. Even when it hurt, even when I was shaking inside, I stood. Her little arms wrapped around my neck, squeezing tight. "You're the strongest person I know." My eyes stung. Strong? No. I had been broken, humiliated, torn open. But I stood anyway. Maybe that's what strength really was. I whispered into her hair. "Strength isn't never breaking. It's rising even when they try to keep you down." She pulled back, her voice trembling but sure. Then I'll rise too. I closed the box and placed it in her hands. This is yours now. Wear it when you're old enough. And remember, it isn't just jewelry. It's dignity. And dignity can't be taken, only surrendered. Don't ever surrender it. She nodded solemnly, clutching it close. The room fell quiet again, but this silence felt different. Not suffocating. Not complicit. Peaceful. I leaned back, breathing slowly, finally steady. Their comfort had ended where my dignity began. And tonight, I knew my dignity would outlive their silence. The office was quiet when she walked in. My assistant set a cup of tea on my desk, her eyes lingering on me as if searching for cracks. "Are you tired?" she whispered. I let out a long breath. More than tired, but not broken. She pulled up a chair, her voice hesitant. "Would you do it again? Knowing everything, the threats, the stares, the way they tried to shred you?" I looked at her, steady. "Every time," she frowned softly. "Even if it cost you your position, your peace." I pressed my palms together, feeling the sting in my knuckles from clenched fists that had refused to unclench for days. Peace built on silence isn't peace. It's surrender, and I will not surrender. She lowered her gaze. "You know, you scared them. Not just the woman, not just the store. Everyone who thought you'd stay quiet." I swallowed. Good. Fear makes space for truth. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The clock ticked, soft and relentless. Finally, she murmured, "What stays with you most? The moment she blocked you? Or the moment she collapsed?" My throat tightened. Neither. What stays with me is the silence in between. The silence of people who could have spoken, who should have spoken, but chose comfort instead. Her eyes glistened. "And what stays with you about yourself?" I leaned back, the memory of my reflection in that glass door searing through me. That I didn't crumble. That I stood even when my knees shook. That I walked out with my head higher. Then the ceiling allowed. Her voice dropped low. "So what now?" I closed my eyes for a breath, then opened them with resolve. Now I live with dignity. Not as a gift they can hand me, not as a favor they can revoke, but as something I own. Something no one can strip away again. She reached for her tea, whispering, "And them? The ones who still hate you?" I let a faint, tired smile curve my lips. Let them keep their hate. I won't carry it for them. The room fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was steady, like an anchor. I rose, walking toward the window, city lights glittering like fragments of broken glass pieced back into something whole. I whispered, more to myself than to her. Their comfort ended where my dignity began. And dignity is something I will never sell. Behind me, I heard her murmur, "Then you've already won." I closed my eyes, letting her words settle into me like balm. Yes, I had won, not in the court of their approval, but in the court of my own soul.